So, welcome to your yoga practice, and start by settling in. And it might take you a second to settle in, it might take you until Shavasana, and both are okay. In a comfortable seat, shift around just a bit so get a nice appreciation for your pelvis. And then you can close the eyes and let everything kind of ground. I read a while back about, I was reading a book by a botanist, and she was talking about how trees will transfer when they lose their leaves. The energetic and the nutrients ground down into the roots. And then the roots keep sending up and up. But then in the brighter summer months, the energy is coming from above and filtering down. And I really love that analogy, especially right now. Like in the winter, we know we're working on our root. We're working to nurture from the ground up. And then that whole idea of like coming out of a pandemic too, it's like you can feel the light, but the leaves aren't there yet. So we're still rooting, grounding, nurturing up while starting to absorb from up to down as well. So feel your base of support. Slowing your breath down. Sensing your root. But at the same time, feeling almost the light surrounding your upper body, the back of your body. Even the space on the side of the neck. Starting to sense that balance from grounding and ascent. Draw your chin gently towards your chest. And then let your shoulders fall forward a bit. You can walk your hands in front of you. Let it round a bit more. And then let it curl down, almost like you're doing one vertebrae at a time, all the way down. And perhaps your elbows come down, maybe even your head. Now, anchor your sit bones back and see if you can start to lengthen out through the spine. Come up on your hands, lift the chest up, and filter all the way back up. And we'll do that again. So it's almost like you're doing the worm. So you're drawing chin down, shoulders down, melt it forward. Anchor through your sit bones, lengthen out the low back, press almost to a tiny little back bend as you bring yourself back up. And do that a few more times, just starting to find movement through the back. Nothing overly aggressive, not looking for deep stretching, just flowing. And bring yourself up, set your feet down in front of you, and start to let the knees windshield wiper from side to side. And you can take the back hand and swipe it around with you if you want to. So now you're feeling the rotation through the hips and through the spine. One more time. And straightening the legs out in front of you. Flex and point and circle and maybe click and crunch and pop your ankles. Maybe it's quiet, I don't know. And then play with bending your legs in and then kind of sliding your heels as best you can. Extend the legs back out. And do that a few times. Kind of bend it in. And it doesn't have to be simultaneous. It could be a wobble. I don't know. Waddle? It goes with it. Then the next time you bring your legs in, bring them all the way in. Tent your fingertips behind you and see if you can lift up and hover your hips off the floor. For a moment, you're feeling the release down through your heels and through the metatarsals, and then that length that you had through the spine. One more breath there. And then scoot your feet closer together and lift the heels up. So you come onto the balls of the feet. Draw the toes, big toes closer and your outer heels in. And then see if you can shift a little forward and back. You could even hold onto your mat here. I don't have a mat, but hold onto it and lean back. Yeah, and I think your Achilles are really long, so you might even put your heels down there. Yeah. And then start to bring yourself partway up. Step the feet outer hip bone distance apart. Knees as bent as you'd like, and sway in the hips, shifting from right to left. You can grab hold of opposite elbows if you want. Sense the movement into the rib cage area as well. And then dropping the hands down, slowly roll yourself all the way up through the spine. Bring your hands together at your heart. Press in, lift up. And then inhale, reach the arms up towards the sky. As you exhale, bend the knees, tap your fingertips down towards the ground. Keep your heart lifted and then sweep and circle all the way back up. That's your inhale. And do that a few times. Exhale, circle and sweep. Inhale. And again, exhale. Circle and sweep. Inhale. Release the arms down along your sides. Draw your chin towards your chest. Let the arms hang forward. Bend the knees as soon as you feel any tension that makes you do so. Releasing the hands all the way down. Walk yourself forward or back wherever you are on your mat. Come in towards a plank pose. Set your knees down in plank, untuck your toes, and very slowly let the pelvis release down and then fold it all the way sequentially down to your belly. Hands a bit wider than your shoulders and find your back bend flow, big or small, anchoring down through your feet, growing more comfortable with all the connections of your spine. And then press yourself back. Come into a table pose and pick up your right leg. Let's start to move that right leg. See if you can cross the right knee behind the left. And then bring it up and around. See if you can draw the right knee to the right arm. Sweep it, circle it, back behind the left. Up and around to the right. And a few more times like that, you can explore that relationship in moving your hips and the movement through the spine, or you can isolate it and see how much you can stabilize. The next time you draw it forward towards the right hand, step it to the outside of the wrist. Pressing down through the fingers, lengthen up through the chest. And then take your right arm and twist it open. You can grow here, checking the back toes, lifting the knee, or you can stay just like this. Set the right hand back down to the ground, tuck your back toes, lift up, spin yourself around to the long edge of your mat. And at first here, walk your hands way forward. Bend and straighten the knees if you'd like. Deep breaths, lengthening you through your spine. And walking the hands back underneath your shoulders. Spin the heels in, the toes out, and bring either your hands or your elbows to your thighs. Let it be really kind of earthy here. You can sit the hips back a lot. Spin yourself back to the front of the mat. Lower the knee down and sweep up. Anjani Asana. Pausing and breathing here. Feel the gentle push into your front foot to lift your chest up from the back of your torso. Exhale, release the hand down. Slide your shin bone back so they align. Sit your hips back to your heels. And just for a moment, reach up, lift the chest up high. And then exhale, sit it back, whether you use your hands on the ground or you kind of shift your way back, lift your knees up. Hands come into your heart. And then start to fold it down. Step your feet as wide as you need. Release the head. And roll yourself up through your spine. And step your feet just a bit wider. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, move through the center, tapping the ground, heart stays lifted. Inhale, press up. And do that a few times. Exhale, feel the release into ankles, into feet. One more time. Circle up. Now release the arms down along your sides. Chin to your chest. Arms fold forward, roll all the way down. Walk the hands forward. Bring the feet so they're hip bone distance apart. Set the knees down, untuck the toes. And then you're trying to roll through this in the opposite way. So the hips come down, elbows soften, and you lower yourself all the way down. Back bend of your choice. Maybe it's a flow. Maybe it's a lift up and pause. What's your preference? And then releasing yourself down. Press yourself up into table pose. Left leg extends back. And then play with the movement here. Bend, cross, and then lift it up and around. Maybe you tap the knee towards the arm. And keep going with that. Everything today has almost like a little snake-like feel to it. So you can feel the continuation of movement. Sometimes practices can be really stationary and held, and that's fantastic. Sometimes we need to clear some stagnation. Draw the knee towards the left arm. Again, step the foot outside of the wrist. Pause for a moment up on a fingertip, so maybe you can feel that balance of root to leaves without the leaves. Left arm reaches up. Feel the spiral through the back of the waist. And then exhale, set the hand down, tuck your toes on the right leg, spin yourself open, and for a moment, walk it forward. So nice and long there. You can even tent the fingertips, almost like you're gonna give more space to the back of the shoulders. And walk the hands back in, heels in, toes out. Your choice, if you wanna go back to your hands on the legs, or keep your hands down and move from skandasana, from side to side. Letting your hands take as much of the weight as you'd like. What's the kind of rhythm between your joints. Then shift yourself all the way back to the front of the mat. Right knee down, untuck the right toes, and sweep up. Feel yourself ground in the stillness after the flow. Release the hands down. Slide that left shin back next to the right. Tuck your toes. And then walk your hands back. Just a breath. Lift up. Maybe you circle the elbows out to the sides. And there's a tiny chest lift there. Sit the hips back towards the heels. And then use your hands or not. Lift onto the balls of the feet. Release the hands down. Step your feet as wide as you'd like there. And slowly roll all the way up to stand. And step the feet, I call it squat distance apart. So for most of us, there's some kind of rotation that has to happen there in the legs. And I'm going to give you the choice to do the same thing we did of the bending, straightening, and sweeping up, or we can play with this a little bit. So inhale, sweep the arms up. And if you're playing with it, exhale, see if you can lower all the way down towards the squat, but then you're playing with movement from your squat. You can shift from side to side a little bit. You can take one arm back. You can even level change it, lifting, lowering, or develop it so much that you put a knee down and shift it back. Put a knee down and shift it back. But the idea, yeah, that's beautiful. Again, is that you're feeling that sense that the whole body is flowing together. Carefully protecting knees, right? No crazy motion you've never done before. I'm pausing for a moment there. Hands go forward. Press from the feet, shift it all the way up, plank pose. And whether you lower the left knee down or spin to the outer edges of both feet, I'm slightly open there in my twist, Vashisthasana. A few breaths there. And then exhale, spin it back and right away. Let the heels fall the other way or the knees settle down, opposite side. Bring it back. Press your hips back. Maybe take a downward dog. You can also do this from table. And then lift your right leg up. And let the tail wag again. You can take that right foot, tap it behind the left. Sweep it up and around, circle it towards your right arm. Bring it up and around. Maybe it arcs over. I like to bend the left knee when I do that. Sweep up, circle it forward. One more time there, lift up. Little bend. Lift up. Step the foot forward to the outside of your right wrist, right hand to the right thigh. And in this case with the back knee lifted, you can kind of feel that you arc the spine a bit more towards the left. Yeah, it's more of a chest opening place. And then as you exhale, pivot yourself around all the way towards the back of your mat. Left toes towards the back, right toes like a warrior two. Maybe you bring the elbow up to your thigh, but you come up into a Parsva Konasana, side angle, that's it. And you breathe here. Feel how you support yourself from the ground. Then inhale, come up. Flip your feet back to the front of your mat and take warrior two. Soft steadiness of arms and gaze. Little lift through the left inner back of your inner thigh. And then exhale. Release the hands down towards the ground. Once more, lower the back knee down, but this time play with extending the front leg towards straight. Movement or stillness there. It's up to you. Maybe you do want to tuck the back toes, lift the back knee up. Personal preference. And then set the back knee down. Slide your right shin next to it. This time come right up. Reach the arms up high. Bend the elbows out, lift the heart up, engage the inner thighs up through the glutes. Start to sit the hips back. This time, do set your hands down, lift up, and then step your feet as wide as you need to return back into a squat. Maybe you press the elbows. This time, kind of savor the stillness of it. And then again, shift it forward. Hands come forward. Can you push from the feet? Send it up. Plank. I have my feet outer hip bone distance apart here because it's kind of nice. I'm letting the feet fall towards the left as I open up to that side plank pose. You can do this more traditional, stacking your feet or putting a knee down. And then spiral it back. Go to the second side. Heels come down. Arm reaches up. Release it. If you want to put a vinyasa and go for it. If you want to take downward dog, go for it. Kind of venturing towards completely untraditional in this practice, but it's up to you. And then meeting in down dog or table, lift your left leg up. As you arc the left leg over towards the right, you can bend the right knee if you want to. And then sweep it up. Draw the knee towards the left arm. Sweep it back up. Arc to the right. Maybe the toes tap. Come up. And then the next time you bring it forward, step the foot to the outside of that left wrist. Left hand can press into the thigh. You're strong and pressing through your feet, and then the torso can bow back to the right. You can add the lift of the left arm if you choose. Breathe. Release the hand down. Now pivot yourself around to the back of the mat for Parsvakonasana, side angle. Right forearm up to the right thigh. Left arm reaches overhead. And feel, how do you nurture these poses? How do you feel there's still a flow? Inhale, let the left arm draw you up. Pivot your feet for warrior two onto the left side. Stay. To be stable and to flow. It's a beautiful thing, I find. Take your hands, bring them down. Lower the back knee down and start to straighten that left leg. Your choice here, if you stay down with the back knee, if you flow forward and back, or if you pick up that back knee. You still feel very connected to your breath. And then gently, right knee comes down if it's lifted. Slide the left shin back. Toes can stay tucked. Reach the arms up. Engage through inner thighs, up through the spine. If you want, bend the elbows, gentle arc. Yep. Hands kind of cascade down. Start to sit back, and you can use your hands here if you want to. Shift. And for me, I don't have an easy squat, so I have to go wider, but you might be able to keep your feet close together. The hands can come together at the heart, Malasana. I should say you can always put a block underneath the hips. Pause. And then again, shift it forward. So you're lifting up the hips enough to send your hands out. I can slide on my mat. You might be walking. I realize that's not fair. Take a breath. If you want a vinyasa, please go for it. Otherwise, you can take it back down dog or table. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. Right leg, reach it up nice and high. And exhale, step the right foot forward between the hands. Angle the back heel down to the ground. And come up. Virabhadrasana 1. Yeah. I enjoyed that I'm teaching this class from like all different areas. Screenshot. I hope that's not confusing. Press into the back foot just a bit more. And then we're going to find a little flow here too. So left hand comes down to the ground or to a block. And then you're going to circle towards the outer edges of the feet as the right arm sweeps up. And then circle it right back again. Spin that back heel down. Come up. Warrior 1. Do it again. Hand comes down. Maybe you spin. Yep. Spin it back down. Set your back heel down. Come up. And because 3 seems to be where it is in yoga, last time through, bring it back around. Sweep yourself back up. And then as you exhale, maybe your hands go to block. Maybe they go to the ground. Shift forward. Lift the back leg up. Standing split pose. Pause for a moment. See, can you press through the hands? Send your branches up that leg. And then start to bend both of your knees and see, could you tap your left knee behind your right? Maybe you get really light on the fingertips. Take your chest forward. Yeah. And then go back where it came from. Lift it up. And again, exhale, bend. Maybe you even hover your hands off the ground. Maybe you don't want to. And then bring the hands back down, lift it back up. And the next time you go to do that, exhale, bend. I want you to actually take your left foot and step it to the outside behind your right. So you're going into eagle legs. Then the hips start to shift back. I'm gonna lose my head. And then maybe you lift up through that right leg. You cross it. You can take the arms with it as well. Arms reach wide. Right elbow reaches underneath the left. Maybe you start to bend into it a bit more. And then see, you can unwind it. Step both of your feet hip bone distance apart. And for a moment, let it sway. Have hands on the hips. Shift in the hips. And then exaggerate that. Bump your right hip out to the right. And then lean your right arm up. It's kind of like an 80s workout. But it's okay to get the side body that open and then come back up. Switch your hands, bump your hips out to the side. Yeah, and then lean it. Sweep it all the way back up. And then exhale. Bring it back towards that. Almost like you're going to go into a squat. You can set the elbows if you want to and pause there. If you want to, you can play with crow. So bringing the elbows down so the knees latch onto them. Come onto the balls of the feet. Hands go forward about a foot. And then you shift forward and up. Maybe your feet lift up. Maybe you're breathing there. Nice. And then step it back. Down dog, put a vinyasa in, drink some water. What do you need? And then lift up through your left leg. Deep breath in there. Exhale the left foot forward. Angle the back heel down. And come up. Making sure you have space. Heels in line with your sit bones rather than each other. Breathe. And then what is this flow here? Start to bring both of your hands down, but your right hand settles. And then you're pivoting around your feet. That left arm can circle up. And then pressing down through your hand and your feet to lift your hips up. Spin it down. Warrior one, come up. 2 more times like that. Shift, spiral, rotate, shift, heel back down, come up. And last time, shift forward, rotate, shift it back, come up. Tip your way forward now. Hands come down and out in front of that left leg. Lift your right leg up towards the sky, standing split. Make space in that left outer hip. Draw it back. Reach the right leg up, 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 up. And then as you exhale, see, can you bring that leg behind? Maybe you come light on the fingertips, lift the chest up, and then send the leg back up to the sky. Next time, exhale. Bending both of your knees, tucking it behind. Maybe you hover the hands, maybe not. Hands come back down, sweep it up. And exhale, last time, bring it behind, but then see if you can take that right foot and step it to the outside of your left. And immediately your left heel is going to come up. Hips draw back. Maybe left foot lifts or double wraps. Hips are ideally working to balance towards the front. Arms reach out. And if you want, left elbow comes underneath the right. Sitting the hips gently back. Maybe you steady your breath. And then come up, stand. And again, that's a lot on glute med. That's a lateral stabilizer in your hip. So shift it out. That and it just feels good sometimes, right? And let the hips kind of bump over towards the left. Reach the left arm up. You can even come up onto the ball of the right foot. Look down towards the right foot. And then sweep it back up. Bump the hips over towards the right. Lift your right arm. I'm bending the left leg and lifting the heel. It's up to you. And bring it back up, reach up. And then exhale from that kind of squat place. Maybe you rest your elbows. Maybe you take this towards crow. Setting the hands down. Hugging the feet in if they're lifted. And take it back however you'd like. Down dog, vinyasa, big old sigh. What do you need? And then one last time, set your knees down, sit back. You can put a block in between your feet, pause. There's a lot of interesting movement there, so let your body kind of absorb it. One thing I like about breaking with tradition, first, full honesty, it brings me more into somatic movement when I'm trained for in dance. But the second is it takes me out of my head, right? So when you don't quite know what to expect, what's coming next, we become even more focused on what we're doing instead of any stories we might have with poses or anything like that. So hopefully you find that too. Press down through your feet, lift up one more time. On your shins, reach the arms up high. And then play with circling that right arm back behind you. Maybe it grazes something or taps the heel. And then keep the circle going all the way forward. And then the left arm circle. And bring it up. So basically you're doing the backstroke. Yeah. And just like when you're swimming, it's actually about the movement of the torso. So let it spiral. Not bending into any amount of pressure in the low back. Last time each side. And bring it back up. And just for a moment, hands to the thighs. Keep a press down. Feel the impact of that across the back of the shoulders and shoulder blades. And perhaps because we've prepped it, we go into camel one time. Press up. When you do press up though, make sure it's not a up, push down through the feet. You want to feel like you've lifted up with intention. Reach the arms up. Maybe you take the back of the hands to the back of the head. And then press into that space. Energize through the legs. Elbows can come closer. Or maybe it starts to develop a bit for you. The chest lifts up, or the hands come down to the back of the hips. Or maybe they come down to the heels. It's up to you. A few breaths there. And then see, can you pour it back up? And sit back on your heels. So much energy in deep back bends. It's also interesting to think one of the primary nerves of our autonomic nervous system is our vagus nerve, one of the cranial nerves, and it wanders down. Vagus means like vagabond, right? And when you go into these big back bends, it actually puts that nerve under a stretch, and that might contribute some of that like, whoa, feeling after a big old back bend. So just a thought. One more back bend of your choice. I would go onto my belly for a back bend. You might want to lay down, or you might want to do camel pose again. But knowing that we're not going quite to laying down yet is why I would pick the belly. It's all just about laziness. Shifting yourself forward if you're going there. And yogi's choice. So it could be a cobra. It could be locust pose. You keep it small and low to the ground. Or you might go more towards restorative. Come up into a sphinx pose. That's where I'll be. You choose. And the nice part about the restorative back bends is you can really feel that sense of earthiness, that grounding, in order to nurture and support the length. Can you also feel that the length and the reach out is nurturing your grounding? Maybe it can go both ways. And then release it. You can stack the palms. If you're on your belly, rest the forehead. If you did choose your back, you can lay in constructive rest for a moment. Okay. Shake the hips. And take a few really deliberate breaths here. And then settle that back down. Press your hands beside your shoulders. Press yourself up and back. Down dog or child's pose. We'll go into either double pigeon, that figure 4, or you might want to try pigeon here. And if you are, you're picking up that right leg. Set the shin bone across the mat, not trying to go towards parallel, just whatever rotation you've got. And then the left leg kind of heel toes back. A block underneath your right cheek is always helpful if you want. And at first, savor the upright. Pressing down through the length of your back leg and through wherever you can anchor your right. So whether that's the thigh on a block or the thigh towards the ground, the chest can lift up. And imagine your fresh spring leaves soaking up the sun for a moment here. We kind of do that today, right? Yesterday was 33. Today's going to be 66. Soak it up. Tomorrow it's going to snow. Maybe you let it come down. You can come down to your elbows, back of your hands, whatever your version of coming down is without hurting anything. Two more breaths there. And start to walk your hands back up. And then gently slide it back, down dog. You can always put a vinyasa in if you want to. Child's pose if you want to. Reassess balance between sides. And then your left shin comes forward. Or double pigeon, figure four, whatever you're working on. Again, a block underneath that left hip might be good. For those of us whose hips are kind of designed for external rotation, no block needed. Stay upright at first though. I love this pose actually as a communication with my psoas on the back leg. That lift of the chest and the extension of the back leg. You can feel it going from kind of your inner groin across the inner hip. It's going to unwind from any time you spend sitting. Fold it in if you'd like. Support it. Release it. Another breath there. And then gently start to bring yourself back up. Again, you can press it back, downward dog, vinyasa, whatever. Best transition ever. You can just sit to one side too and come into a simple cross-legged seat. We'll meet in a cross-legged Sukhasana. And taking your time. Establish yourself there. Hopefully it feels entirely different from the seat you took at the beginning of your practice. Now take your right hand behind you, your left hand to your right thigh, and a nice, easy twist. Feel how you can almost pour the weight down and out through your left sit bone, left thigh. And if you'd like to add on here, turn your gaze towards the left shoulder. And then kind of push through your right fingertips, lift your chest up just a bit there. You can even take that right hand and kind of reach it back behind you. And bring it back to the center. Switch the crossing of your legs. Right hand to left knee, left hand behind you. Rotate. And feel like you could pour the weight really into the pelvis and then down and out through both of your legs. Staying there or turn drishti to your right shoulder. And then almost exaggerate. Lift up through your chest. You might feel this kind of line of connectivity through the back of that ear, all the way down into the chest. You can hover the left hand if you want. Reach the fingertips away. And then kind of one step at a time, hand comes down, reorient your gaze to the front, release your twist. Pause. And then one forward fold of your choice. I wouldn't feel like Paschimottanasana today, but you might. Legs forward and fold. My great debate is actually in between legs wide Upavishta or soles of the feet in Baddha Konasana. And I'm not going to do any of those actually. I'm going to do Tirasana. So again, you can pick what works for your body at this point. I really like that fluid spine and very grounded feeling that we've been cultivating through class. So diamond shape with the legs if you want to. And then you start to fold it in and the spine can actually round a bit. And you might find the connection energetically from the arches of your feet to your forehead. You might put a block there to seal that connection or stack your hands or release it fully. But can you feel the impact of your breath all the way down in your low back there? And then slowly start to roll yourself back up. Take your hands to the back of your knees if you're in Baddha Konasana. Hold on to your shin bones and then see if you can start to scoop out round the low back and let that roll you all the way down while you still hold your knees. And then turn so your fingertips are kind of pointing down your shin bones. So your arms can be straight and you're just kind of supporting the legs up. Breathe there. And then perhaps for a bit, you could take a block underneath your pelvis if you want to, or just take the legs up towards the sky. Legs don't have to be perfectly straight. Arms can go out into a T. And appreciate your feet up in the sky. The heavy release of the thigh bones into the hip socket. And take 2 more breaths there. And bend your knees. You can put your feet all the way down to do this, or simply scoot your hips a little bit over towards the right as you lay your legs to the left in a twist. And you can use a prop underneath your knees. They don't have to fall to the floor. And then as you come back, see if you can lift your right knee up first, then your left leg come to center. Take your hips a bit over towards the left and then lay your legs to a twist, whatever that is for you, to the right. A place where you can feel the breath moving all the way into this deep, spacious calm. And then to come back, Left leg lifts, right knee comes back up. Maybe you set your feet down for a moment, flat, and you take a breath or so there. And find your way into Shavasana as you're ready. You can lengthen the legs out. Maybe you need a prop and you grab it, or you settle yourself in there. And then relax and breathe. So I'll give you the choice here. If you do have the extra time in your day to stay in Shavasana for a bit, please do. Just let this wind down and stay. And Jess, if that's you, you can just kind of wave a limb. Otherwise, if this was your allotted amount of time, slowly start to make your way up. Return back to a comfortable seat. Pause for a moment there, taking in your connection with yourself, with your place in this moment, and with the space around you. Thank you so very much for practicing with me today. Namaste.